Tony Parker and Hito Turkoglu are at the guard to the somewhat more shots from both Duncan and Parker. Here are the Lakers, Gary Payton, Kobe Bryant at the guard. Devin George, who had a strong game 5, but they're on their feet here at Staples. Lakers control. The Spurs lost 4 in a row, only once this season, late November, early December. 2 of those 4 losses, as it turned out, at the hands of the Lakers. Here is Malone. O'Neal and the tip. Now Tony Parker starts back, met by Gary Payton. You can see Payton digging in. Turkoglu had the big game from downtown here in game 4 last Tuesday. Right at the start, the champ of defense, Duncan off the double, flipped one up. Back comes Payton. And by Parker. And Payton thought he was fouled. Turkoglu played by George. George cheating over to help out on Duncan. Here is Duncan. Yes.
And Marv, we see Tim Duncan down in the low post area, but it came as a result of transition. Not a set play call. In transition, Duncan is allowed. They want him to get in that low post area. In half-court plays, they do different things, get him involved in more pick and rolls, step backs, and then play out of that.
Malone.
I would think the first play of the game was run from Malone to see if they could get his confidence back. That time, another bad-looking jumper. He was 3 for 10 in the last game. Steal by the Lakers.
Malone able to knock it away from Duncan.
And that's what he's done both games here in LA. Stripped him of that ball down on the block, and that's why Duncan has been a little bit uncomfortable.
O'Neal backing his way and gives it up. Here's Payton. Duncan able to take the deflection off Turkoglu.
Already we're seeing both teams really collapsing and just clogging the lane, daring this other team to shoot from the perimeter.
That was a wide open opportunity for Parker. Nesterovic went down. He looks like he's hurt. Payton with the finger roll. And Nesterovic comes up hobbling.
He landed on his left ankle, went down and grabbed it right away. He certainly had an opportunity to finish that easy layup off on the inside. Popovich going right to his bench, bringing in the veteran Kevin Willis.
Bowen. Nesterovic pops it out. They have to reset. Here's Bowen. That was a 3-point attempt. Bryant with the rebound.
Bowen has really struggled with his shot this series, Marvin. I think that's one of the reasons the Lakers have been able to defend the Spurs well. Kobe Bryant is basically playing center field now every trip down the floor.
Shot clock is at 6. Payton delivers. And a foul on Nesterovic. So Malone will go to the line.
You know, Karl Malone is used to playing with Stockton for so long. You never give up looking at passes that come late. A late pass that time by Payton. You thought he was going to take it and shoot it at the last second. Instead, he saw Nesterovic turn his head. Malone kept his eyes on his teammate, dropped it down inside Malone for 2.
Russo Nesterovic is headed back to the Spurs locker room, accompanied by the trainer, Will Sevening.
Well, you'll see after Tony Parker's miss is bouncing around, he goes up, Nesterovic tries to tip it in. You can't quite see, but he rolled that left ankle on the foot of Karl Malone. So he'll go in, get retaped, and hopefully be back out onto the floor.
All right, the 41-year-old, 20-year veteran Kevin Willis with an early appearance, checking in for Russo. Nesterovic has been very quiet, had the 2 good games, games 1 and 2, and has not done much since then. Here's Parker stopped by Payton and a bad pass.
Remember, 18 turnovers, 24 points last game by San Antonio. That's 24 points that would love to just have 2 of those points back at the end of the game.
And in talking with Greg Popovich earlier, he was upset with the poor shooting by the Spurs, only 38%. The other night, they start out 1 of 6 from the field, and they have lost their starting center. Here is Malone again. So he is 0 for 3 from the field.
Marv, you mentioned the Spurs shot 38%. I really believe the onus is on their perimeter guys. Bowen Turkoglu, they're the ones getting the open looks.
And it has not been a question of not getting the looks. The shots have been there. Now Turkoglu, this is a force. Rebounded by O'Neal. Bryant gets it down low. O'Neal is fouled.
Take a look at what the Lakers are doing now. Tony Parker trying to penetrate. Remember, Greg Popovich said he wants 25 shots. But look at that. 4 Lakers in the lane. Devin George just outside the lane. Nowhere for Parker to go. That's the reason the Spurs are struggling to score now. Remember, games 1 and 2, Parker had his way, got to the rim at will.
Foul on Duncan. Here is Shaq. He was only 1 of 5 at the line in game 5. And in the 5 games this series prior to tonight, 13 of 44 at the foul line. That's a shade over 29%.
And I thought the Spurs made a crucial error late in game 5 when they had a 3-point lead with about a minute and a half to go. Shaq got the ball down on the block. They could have fouled him, sent him to the line. Instead, he turns, makes a jump hook, turns it into a 1-point game.
Lakers 5, Spurs 2. Duncan. 5 of the shot clock, gives it up. Parker shoots the 3. Good box out by O'Neal, and a foul again against San Antonio.
Mike, did you notice the indecision by Parker as he lined that shot up? He had the shot originally, flinched a little bit, didn't really want to take it. I thought he did the same thing a few times in game 5. Hasn't looked as comfortable as he did earlier in the series.
In the first 2 games when he was on fire, there was no hesitation. He pulled the trigger anytime he wanted. That time, he was almost like at the foul line, trying to line it up.
Here is Bryant. Rebounded by George, and he is hit on a reach-in by Turkoglu. The report on Rasho Nesterovic, a tweaked left ankle, is being retaped.
Is that official?
Yes, he will return. That's from the training staff.
Tweaked. Okay.
In fact, here he is. Rasho back from the tweaking. And he's come on for Kevin Willis. Both teams struggling with the shot here at the start. Lakers only 2 of 9. Nesterovic with the rebound. San Antonio just 1 of 8 from the floor. Parker with the step, but he was met by O'Neal. Here's Bowen. And tipped home by Duncan, will not count. Foul is called on Duncan. That's his second.
They certainly don't need this to happen to them. Tim Duncan picking up 2 quick fouls, but it looked like Parker may have had an open layup. Instead, he elects to kick out the ball. Underneath, you see Duncan, a little shove. Paul Malone, one of the best at acting it out, making it look like it's more severe than it really might be.
And guys, we played 5 minutes. San Antonio in the penalty. So Karl Malone will go to the line. Manu Ginobili has come on for Hedo Turkoglu. Greg Popovich looking for something, looking for a spark.
Well, not only is he bringing in Ginobili, but at this point anyway, he's leaving Tim Duncan in the game. So we'll see if he decides to make a substitution here after the free throw, but doesn't look like it.
He can substitute or he can change defensive assignments, whichever one he thinks will prevent Tim from picking up the next foul, or come immediately and start double teaming if he happens to leave him on Shaq.
Lakers 6, Spurs 2. Parker using the screen. Nesterovic. Ginobili had it knocked away. Able to recover. Duncan with a shot clock down at 3. Tim Duncan. So Duncan with both San Antonio field goals.
You have to be sitting there saying to yourself, what a tremendous gamble by Popovich to leave him in the game right now. But please, nobody knows their players better than the coach. We see Peyton trying to find an opening. Popovich has the belief in Duncan that he will not commit a silly foul. He knows he's got 2 right now.
Shot clock at 1. Here's George. Yes. Kevin George from downtown. He hit 3 from beyond that 3-point line. in Game 5.
A nice job by Karl Malone recognizing that Gary Payton had the mismatch, which led to some difficult circumstances for the Spurs defense. He finds George for the jumper.
Nesterovic. Rasho Nesterovic, who has been very quiet the other night, 1 of 3 from the field. 24 minutes of play. Lakers 9, Spurs 6. 5.5 remaining in this opening quarter. O'Neal backing his way. Duncan came over to help. That will count as a foul. Let's see which way they call it.
Game 5. To commemorate the occasion, the Lakers printed up T-shirts for tonight. 0.4 of a second, how much time was left when he made this shot. And Shaq's quote, "One lucky shot deserves another." 1,000 of these shirts in the first printing, they are all gone, as is every Derek Fisher jersey, authentic and replica in the city of LA. Shaq and Kobe got their usual standing ovations during the team intros, but just wait until Fisher comes off the bench tonight.
All right, thanks, Craig. Yes, it was the shot of his basketball life. Derek says it's the first ever game-winning shot of his 8-year NBA career. And his teammates were so happy for him because he's such a popular guy in the locker room.
He's one of the good guys in the league. I think everybody around the NBA likes this guy. And even though he said he hasn't hit any game-winning shots, he's certainly hit a lot of big ones in the playoffs for the Lakers over the years.
Steve, just happened to be that the side of the floor they took the ball out on that night was the perfect side for a left-hander, not a right-hander. So even though Kobe and Shaq were the first 2 options, it went to the lefty who could turn into his right shoulder and get it off in enough time. I doubt if a right-hander could have brought it across his body in time to get the shot off.
Crowd looking for travel on Ginobili. He fires from downtown. Rebounded. Well, the combination of Bryant and O'Neal lost it. So San Antonio maintains possession. Robert Horry has checked in for the first time, and Robert not able to get going with the shot. He was 0 for 4 in 27 minutes. The other night, he's 1 for 10 in this series in 86 minutes of play. Parker, yes. So the Lakers now lead 12-8, just under 5 remaining in the first.
About the Laker defense, I know that Parker made that shot, but how did they go from being a very average defensive team at best during the regular season to all of a sudden just shutting down the San Antonio Spurs?
Kobe Bryant with his first field goal. Phil Jackson says Lakers are playing at this time in this series the best defense of their season. Off the steal, here's Payton for Bryant. Yes. Lakers 16, Spurs 8. San Antonio wants to talk it over.
Simply a spectacular play by the Lakers. That pass is coming 1 step over half court, back to the basket, understanding where you are, not only catching it, but the concentration to lay it up and score the ball.
Nice job.
Quite an honor. You guys don't agree Lute Olson is not the leader of the free world in your opinions?
He probably is out there.
I think he is.
Eric Fisher hearing it from this crowd as he checked in just a moment ago, coming on for the first time. Here is Duncan. Comes back to Ginobili. Found one on a traveling violation.
That's that Argentinian two-step.
Horry not even looking for the shot. Devin Brown, who just came on, does. And he has been a major factor in this series.
He had a huge game in Game 5 to really keep the Spurs in it. Not only offensively scoring 11 points, but doing an excellent job on Kobe Bryant in the second half.
Devin, a high-energy type player, had a very strong game. 4 of 7, 11 points in 24 minutes.
And I think with Turkoglu and Bowen struggling, you're likely to see he and Ginobili out here probably the rest of the game practically.
I like the way Phil Jackson worded regarding Brown last game. He said we weren't attentive enough.
Here is Fisher. Yes. So Derek Fisher hits his first shot following the heroics the other night in San Antonio. Lakers 18, Spurs 11.
As a player, there's nothing more confidence building than a game-winning shot. Fisher thinks he can make everything now.
Duncan with the step, and Shaq did not want to pick up the foul, so let him go.
He forced him so hard to his left. The only way he could have stopped him is a teammate making a rotation on the baseline. They just couldn't get there in time, so they let him go.
See Kobe feeling for Brown. Now Ginobili over to help, and came up with a steal. And that's a double dribble. Discontinue. So the ball back to the Lakers.
Yeah, Ginobili took a little bump just prior to that foul line area, but then as he tried to pass it, it got caught up on his hip. That's where the double dribble was called.
And that's the 4th turnover committed by the Spurs. Lakers with just 1 coming up on 2 minutes to play. In this first quarter, Marv Albert, Lazar, Mike Fratello, Steve Kerr, Craig Sager were at Staples in LA. Game 6 of this best of 7. The Lakers win tonight, it's over. If the Spurs win, it goes back to San Antonio for Game 7 on Wednesday. Here's Kobe Bryant for 3. And back comes Manu Ginobili. Parker met by Fisher. Duncan getting the good position. It counts, and the foul. What a move by Tim Duncan. He was down deep, and he'll head to the line. The foul on Shaq, his first.
Well, perhaps abandoning the pick and rolls. They're going right in the hole with Tim Duncan, putting the pressure on Shaquille O'Neal. You can see the hit, the contact right there, the concentration, the left-handed finish by Tim Duncan. Now the opportunity to complete the three-point play.
He looks more like himself now, playing down on the block, going at people. Shaq's done such a nice job on him over the years, but I think Duncan has to still go at him and be aggressive.
Battle going on between Ginobili and Fisher, vying for position outside the circle as Duncan was releasing the free throw.
Well, Fisher realizing that you had a very bad foul shooter on the line, so a long rebound out. He didn't want Ginobili sneaking in there to get a second shot opportunity.
Once again, Bryant feeling for Brown. Here's Kobe getting inside. Going right at Devin Brown. Is about 6'5", 220. It's his second season in the NBA out of the University of Texas at San Antonio.
And the Spurs have to give him better help. Greg Popovich furious right now at Robert Horry for not doubling down on Kobe when he gets into the lane.
And as Horry makes his move, a foul is called. He was bumped, hit by Bryant.
Well, the key is here how low Kobe gets. Watch, he's outside the blue paint. Now watch, he's inside the paint, still in the paint. He's in front of the rim before Tim Duncan starts to come over, and Tim can't go after it. He's got personal foul problems. At the other end, Kobe guarding Horry. Horry's big. There's the reach in across the arms, the foul.
So the Lakers now in the penalty. Robert Horry, man with 5 championship rings, 2 with the Rockets, 3 with the Lakers, one of the great clutch playoff shooters in the history of the NBA until last season. He had missed 18 straight three-pointers in the playoffs,
including the one in Game 5 that rattled out, which
yes,
ironically was almost in the same spot as Derek Fisher's miraculous shot the other night.
And has not been able to get going in this series against the Lakers after he shot the ball well in the opening round against Memphis.
Tough to play against your old teammates, especially in a playoff setting.
And Shaquille O'Neal is called for the offensive foul. That is his second.
Well, Lakers are doing the right thing. You've got Tim Duncan with 2 personal fouls, so they start Shaq away and hope when he flashes across the lane that's when Duncan will foul him. Instead, Shaq goes in. You see the left arm kind of knock Duncan down out of the way. Shaq a little frustrated with the call.
Shaquille O'Neal takes a seat. Karl Malone is back. Kareem Rush has checked in for the Lakers. It's a 2-point Los Angeles lead, just under 1 minute remaining in this first quarter. Here's Ginobili. Horry for 3. Yes! Robert Horry from downtown.
He actually caught it with confidence and shot it immediately. It wasn't like he was thinking about that one. He was getting that one up right away.
It's the approach these guys have to have, Mike. They've got to just come out and let everything go. Let it fly. It's win or go home.
San Antonio's first lead. Here's George right back from downtown. That's his second 3 of the quarter.
I think there are going to be several guys in this game that are very key. George being one of them, Ori, Brown, guys who are going to be open for looks because both teams are clogging the lane.
Only a 1 second differential between the game clock and the shot clock. Turkoglu for three. Final seconds of the quarter. Fisher protecting. Here is Fisher. Is right on line.
He wanted another miracle.
After one here at Staples. Lakers 23 and the Spurs. Steve, this is the A-list according to the Czar. We have Jack at courtside, Larry David.
Is there a funnier man on TV than him?
Snoop Dogg, one of the Czar's favorites. Ed Norton. Tom Hanks and his wife, Rita Wilson. And Denzel, a regular here at courtside.
Did you see Snoop flashing that sign to the Czar? I think he was just saying hello, Mike.
Larry David, your favorite show on TV, Mark, was it not?
Yes.
Mine too.
All right, here is Brown for three. Turkoglu surrounded, able to take it to the rim. Duncan had it knocked out of his hands, and it will be Laker ball. Slava Medvedenko has come on for the first time. Medvedenko up front with Malone and Bryant. Rush and Fisher now in the backcourt. Medvedenko setting the pick. Oh, look out. That is an offensive foul. It is on Malone.
You cannot turn your body into the defender as he comes by, and that's exactly what Malone did. That's a relatively easy call for the officials to make.
Basically, it's a moving screen. That's what it becomes. Watch Karl Malone with the basketball in his hands as the guy goes back, steps into the defender, knocks the defender off. That's an offensive foul.
Spurs 8 for 20 from the field. Lakers 9 for 20 in the first quarter. Fisher called on that foul. That is his first.
Be interesting to see if the Lakers try to get Kobe Bryant going here, or I should say if Kobe Bryant tries to get himself going. Just 3 for 5, but with Shaq out of the game, I think he's probably getting himself ready for an explosion.
Kobe, as Mike mentioned at the start of the telecast, played 47 minutes in Game 5. He was so exhausted, he said at one point he thought he would pass out. Coming off that remarkable 42-point game in Game 4 here in Los Angeles.
We're talking to Gary Vitti, the trainer of the Lakers. He said Kobe's got a body that doesn't tell him when anything's wrong or that he's supposed to be tired. So he just goes until he drops.
Medvedenko able to chase it down.
Well, he has not sat down yet here, but he looks like he's conserved his energy pretty well in the first quarter.
Malone. Spurs in possession. They're down by 2. Ginobili protecting on Bryant, who got picked off, and Ginobili takes it to the rim. The game is tied at 23.
I'm impressed with the way San Antonio has hung in this game, and mostly due to Tim Duncan's aggressiveness. It'd be interesting to watch with 2 fouls. Can he avoid that third one? Because without him on the floor, Spurs will have a very difficult time staying in this thing.
Picked up the 2 early. There are very few players that a coach can trust. Guys will say, I'm okay, I'll stay in. Here's Fisher for 3. And Duncan with the rebound. Fisher thought he was fouled. And Tim handles it by himself. Shaquille O'Neal sitting down after picking up a second foul late in the first. Duncan going glass. He was surrounded but by 2 of the smaller players.
And Phil Jackson taking a timeout, but you've got to recognize when Kareem Rush winds up behind Tim Duncan, and Duncan recognizes it because as soon as he gives the ball up, he goes immediately down into the low post here. Come on and double team quick. Don't let this big guy shoot it over the top.
At the University of Arizona, delivering the commencement address earlier this week, Czar delivered an emotional commencement speech to the Jamboree Preschool in downtown Cleveland.
How'd it go over? Kids enjoyed it.
I thought it was good.
Shaquille O'Neal has returned. Kobe Bryant sitting down. Gary Payton is back. Here's Slava Medvedenko. And The ball back to the Spurs.
Tim Duncan's got to be careful with this small lineup on the floor. He was guarding Shaq there, and you'll see now Nesterovic is going to come in for Duncan. I think good move by Greg Popovich. You can't afford to let Duncan guard Shaq and possibly pick up that third foul.
So Tim Duncan sits down with 11. He's the high point man of the game. 5 for 7 from the field. And the 2 personal fouls. Devin Brown using the screen. He is not shy about releasing the ball. There's a high-energy guy. He's been hitting his shots. Very valuable player off the bench.
Well, with no Tim Duncan on the floor, it's obvious what they want to do. Put Shaquille O'Neal in pick and roll, see if he's going to step up and help, see if they can get open shots for their shooters.
Here is George for 3. Hit 2 earlier. Rebounded by Bowen.
And you see the Spurs coming, doubling on Shaquille O'Neal right away, daring Devin George, Gary Payton, and Derek Fisher to shoot the ball.
Nesterovic wide open. Good play on the pick and roll by Devin Brown, getting it to Rasho Nesterovic.
And what happened that time, Shaq got up on the screen because the last time Brown hit the jumper, so he got up on the screen. Nesterovic rolls to the open spot, they throw it back, taking advantage of what the defense does.
Nice move by Derek Fisher. First points of the quarter for the Lakers. That stops the 8-0 San Antonio run.
Well, they needed that basket, Mark, because you know what was happening in here. The Lakers were starting to hear it from the crowd.
Yes, they were. There was that anxiety. That's a foul, a blocking foul. Crowd here looking for an offensive foul.
And how about the play of Devin George? This young man, relatively unknown before this playoff series, coming in penetrating, and Fisher can't quite get to the spot quick enough. And you know what? I just did the same thing Greg Popovich did. I called him Devin George, didn't I? Too many Devins in this
And
series.
when Greg Popovich said it, he said he was discombobulated.
I believe I am too.
We didn't want to say anything, Steve, but we kind of knew it.
You knew it?
Yeah.
And it's not just tonight, is it?
No.
It's a long day, Steve. We understand.
This kid has been terrific, though, and he's come in here and really helped the Spurs settle down after that rocky start.
Devin Brown last season spent time with both Denver and San Antonio. He's played in the Development League. In fact, he was the league's Rookie of the Year last season, but has emerged this year off the bench for San Antonio. Nice play by Brown, but a foul. Got a piece of George. Devin Brown, 7 points in 8 minutes here tonight.
And not much of a rest for Tim Duncan. He's going to step back in for Robert Horry, but with Nesterovic in there, now Duncan can slide over and cover Medvedenko.
You know, I think part of the selling point from the San Antonio staff to their team getting ready for this game is the fact that this Laker team has some self-doubt. If we can come out early and play them close, as Payton shifts his feet a couple times but gets away with it, they feel this Laker team, Shaq, with the follow-up and finish on the inside. They feel this Laker team can come unglued, as we saw in the fourth quarter last game.
Spurs 30, Lakers 27. 3.5 gone by. And the second. Duncan trying to make the turn on to Medvedenko. Rebounded by O'Neal. Phil Jackson switching off. Does not want Shaq to pick up a third, so he had Medvedenko defending on Duncan.
Duncan missed that shot, but I love his approach here tonight. He's going right at the Lakers before the double team can arrive.
Payton gets it back. Rebounded by Brown.
You really don't have a lot of time in the playoffs, do you, to tee the thing up and shoot it the way you want to shoot it. You better be ready to release that, because they close out on you quickly and take your open looks away.
Duncan met by the double, so they swing it. Shot clock to 4. Duncan recovers. We're down to 1. Brown gets it away. It's an air ball, 24-second violation.
Well, you had good ball movement, but you had better defense that time. The defense kept catching up to the ball, eventually forcing San Antonio into a very low percentage shot.
And I think sometimes when you have good ball movement, what you have to remember to do out of a double team is not just keep swinging the ball, but attack the rim. Maybe on that second pass out of the double team, rather than just swinging it on, put the ball on the floor, get into the lane, create something.
Phil Jackson now has a backcourt of Fisher and Payton with O'Neal, George, and Medvedenko up front. Here's O'Neal. Nice move. Shaquille O'Neal with 9 points.
Boy, Shaq did a nice job with Bowen coming down immediately on the double team, just turning away and knocking down that shot.
Parker using the pick. George roll over Brown, and that shot clock is down to 5, and Starovich threw it away. Tony and Parker over at the far side. That will lead to a timeout with 5:54 remaining.
Underneath the screen, when you put it on the floor, he goes under, then your job is to pull up and shoot a jumper because you have space. And he makes the jumper. Then they come right back, run the same play again. If the big man steps out like Shaq does here, well, then throw it back to your big man, and he should make a jumper. Then it makes everything look good for the Spurs.
Before he entered the game, San Antonio only 4-13 from the field, down by 8. Devin Brown taking a seat, getting a rest. And with Devin on the floor, a +9 for the Spurs.
And huge minutes because it allows Manu Ginobili to go to the bench, get a few minutes of rest, and it allows Bruce Bowen the opportunity now to come back in the game and cover Kobe Bryant.
Spurs 30, Lakers 29, just under 6 remaining in the first half. Here is O'Neal, rebounded by Ginobili.
I think Pop had another heart attack on the Ginobili pass.
Starovich setting the screen. Starovich rebounded by Duncan. They have the new clock. Parker, yes, friendly rim for Tony Parker. That's his second field goal. The other night, Tony only 7 of 23 from the field. Greg Popovich telling us he did not mind that he took that many shots. He said, I don't care if Duncan and Parker take 25 shots apiece. Bryant had it knocked away. Comes back to Kobe. And as you can see, Duncan did not want to pick up the third foul. Had to be very careful.
Smart play, stayed high with his hands, and Kobe, of course, going to that left hand that he's become so proficient with this season.
Bryant 4 for 6. He has 8 points. Ginobili. Rebounded by Duncan. And now Malone back on Duncan with help. You see Payton coming over. So it opens up for Parker, but he's way off. Tony Parker with no one in sight in a Laker uniform.
Well, back in games 1 and 2 where Parker was on the roll. Remember, he was 8 for 19 in game 1, 13 for 23 in game 2. It's a lot of shots.
Nice play by Ginobili, but he did not get out of bounds. This is the second of our TNT playoff doubleheader. Earlier tonight, the Pacers beat the Heat 94-83. Led by Jeff Foster, 20 points, 16 rebounds. For Indiana, Jermaine O'Neal at 22. The rookie Dwayne Wade, 16 points, 10 assists. So the Pacers, in what has been a tough series, now lead it 3 games to 2. Ginobili called on the foul.
Harvey mentioned Jeff Foster, so often in the playoffs that all these adjustments are made from game to game, trying to cover the stars a little bit differently, trying to create some different mismatches, and that's when the role guys all of a sudden are left open. You saw Brian Scalabrine last night coming up big, 17 points for the Nets. And those are the guys who end up wide open sometimes because of all those defensive adjustments.
So as a head coach, Stan Van Gundy's covering the important people, you know, the Jermaine O'Neals and the Reggie Millers, and then a guy comes up and gets 20 and 16. Not quite ready for that.
Bryant met by the triple team, got it to Payton. That's a 3 for Gary Payton. Now Payton had a quiet game on Thursday night, only 1 of 5 from the field. He had turned it in games 3 and 4 after struggling the first 2 games. Last touch by Ginobili.
Karl Malone anticipating where the pass is going to go. Karl Malone, veteran of so many years, understanding what to expect, comes around, outside hand up, he's going to knock it away first, happens to knock it off Ginobili's body.
3.5 to play in this first half. Lakers up by 2. Shaq setting the pick. Pick and roll. O'Neal gets inside. Rebounded by Duncan.
Almost a nice job of sneaking that lefty layup in there by Shaq.
Parker with a change of speed, but Payton able to stay with him. Now Parker uses the screen. Tony Parker stepping back with Nesterovic setting the pick. So Parker has 6 points. The game is tied.
And that's the one he has to make, Mark, because Gary Payton is going under that screen every time, wary of Parker getting into the lane.
And it is back to San Antonio. Shaq thought he had a teammate over at the near side. Did not.
We do have game 6 going on right now.
Yeah. Well, Jeff Van Gundy joining the guys in the studio today. Haight with the steal. Malone able to finish. And the Lakers now lead 36-34. 2.5 to play in this first half. Here comes Nesterovic setting the pick. Ginobili for 3. Kept alive by Duncan. That's 8 rebounds for Tim Duncan. Devin George coming over to help Duncan. Kind of rushed it.
Now Malone again backing off of him, and Duncan can't feel his body, gets taken off balance.
Malone tried to go back door, but a foul. Pass intended for Bryant. Foul on Ginobili, his second. Let's check in with Craig Sager. Craig?
Well, Marv, according to the ticket brokers, this is the hottest ticket for a non-title game in Lakers history. The ticket brokers say courtside seats going for up to $15,000. The Lakers had such a demand that they tried to buy some of them back from their season ticket holders for up to $10,000 so they could give them to their sponsors. One of the problems is some of the people sitting in these seats have money, but they're not really your regular fans. In fact, there's a couple of them between Jack Nicholson and the Spurs bench that were actually up in Spurs huddle, got under Greg Popovich's face. He complained to the officials. Tim Harris, the executive business manager of the Lakers, said, I don't care what you pay for your ticket. If you don't behave, you're out of here.
Things getting tough within the crowd. Lakers now lead 38-34. Steve, you and I try to sell the Czar seat.
That's not nice at all.
15,000. All right, here's Parker. Yes, and the foul. The basket counts, and Parker will go to the line. And a technical foul has been called. Mike Callahan, the official, pointing at Karl Malone. So Malone has been teed up.
Now Malone was upset because at the other end, he thought he got fouled when he made the layup a moment ago. So he's all of a sudden upset that Parker gets a similar call on his jump shot.
Malone was called on the personal foul, and then in arguing that call was hit with a technical.
I know that the players do a pretty good job of acting, but Karl Malone really honestly looks confused as to what he was just called for, and they're taking an awful long time to sort this out amongst the officiating crew. If it's simply a technical foul, it shouldn't be this hard.
Yes, the discussion continues. That's Mike Callahan in the middle. He called the technical, discussing it with Ed Rush and Ken Maurer. Rick Popovich at center court. He wants to know what's going on. And now they've changed it. It is a foul, a personal foul on Malone, and they now say a double technical on Malone and Duncan. So that erases the technical free throw.
Right now, I probably feel Mike Callahan wishes he just didn't call anything at all. Let this move on the game.
I think he's discombobulated. And remember, Tim Duncan is the one shooting the free throw. Parker made the jumper, so apparently Duncan was fouled away from the play.
So one shot for Duncan. The basket by Parker is good, and now Duncan has one. And is getting the treatment. Jim has come on at the foul line.
Just don't say hearing it from the crowd anymore. I never should have brought that up. That was one of my favorite sayings that you had.
You know, it was said once by you. Once a half. That's enough. Here's Payton, and he's fouled. He's blocked. Blocked by Parker.
Let's watch what's taking place between Karl Malone and Tim Duncan as the ball is given off. Right there, that little push and shove by Karl Malone. He hits him with the forearm, and then Duncan shoves him back again at the end. So that's where Mike Callahan calls the double technical.
Now you can see how physical Karl Malone is being with Tim Duncan, and then at the same time, he'll back off him when Duncan feels his body on him.
Reminder, tomorrow on ABC, it's the Timberwolves and the Kings, game 6 of their series. Coverage starting at 3:30 Eastern time. On TNT, it's the Pistons and the Nets. Game 6 of that series off the triple overtime game. Coverage starting 7:30 Eastern time. And then Tuesday night on ESPN, Pacers and the Heat. Coverage starting at 8 o'clock Eastern time.
Well, Greg Popovich takes Duncan out here for the final minute and change, and Spurs will have a couple possessions. He would love to get a score or two here without his superstar on the floor.
Here's Bowen. He got the step, but he pitched it out. Just under a minute remaining in this first half. Parker has to fling it. He had nowhere to go. Recovered by Ori, and they have the new clock. That's a leg block kickball on Bryant.
Is this a time perhaps Phil Jackson should get Shaquille O'Neal out of the game since Shaq has 2 personal fouls as well? Why take the chance with 47 seconds remaining to make him go into the second half with 3 personals?
That's a great point. I think he should be on the bench right now.
45 seconds remaining in the half. Here's Parker. Ori able to field it. Parker thought he was fouled. Game is tied at 39. Bryant, that's a 3-point attempt, and it went over the top of the glass.
I'll tell you, I think the Spurs have to be thrilled right now to be in the situation they're in. Duncan picking up 2 quick ones early in the game, and San Antonio finding a way to weather that initial storm of the Lakers, because they were in a little bit of trouble here early in this game.
Popovich comes right back now at the offensive end of the floor with Tim Duncan. So Duncan back for offense with the differential of about 6 seconds on the clock.
And as you mentioned, Shaq still guarding Tim Duncan now with the 2 personals.
Kevin Brown is back. Brown using the screen from Duncan, and then try to get it down low. Poor communication. Final seconds of the half. Lakers hold for a last shot. The game is tied at 39. Here comes Bryant for 3.
Well, Tony, obviously the same Laker philosophy. Clog the middle, give up the threes, don't let Parker drive. Anything different you see tonight?
No, same thing. They're going to try to put everybody inside like that, can penetrate. Every time Tim is touching the ball, they're going to double team, triple team. So we need to find our teammates, trust our teammates. They're going to make shots, and we got a lot of wide open threes. We just have to make them, and we'll be all right.
Scores tied, but in all 5 games of the series so far, you've been outscored in the 3rd quarter. How do you mix things up tonight?
We need to change it. We need to get this win. I don't know what we're going to do, but we need to bring the energy and play aggressive. That's the key. We need to play aggressive.
Well, go inside. Pop will tell you what you're going to do.
All right, thanks.
That the Spurs had, and also the fact that they did not capitalize on the 10 turnovers. They said they were not making good shots. Also, they thought that Shaq was maybe rushing some shots, especially when he had Duncan in foul trouble. They said 2 X factors they have to pay more attention to in the second half. They have to be more aware of Robert Horry and Devin Brown. He said too many times Horry's keeping the ball alive, and so is Devin Brown, and they could be a difference.
All right, thanks, Craig. San Antonio in possession as this 3rd quarter gets underway. Shot clock down at 3. Duncan rebounded by O'Neal. Shaq's 10th rebound. High man of the game, Tim Duncan with 12. Kobe Bryant with 8 points. Shaquille O'Neal has 9. Payton is open. Passed on the shot and now went to the runner. Here comes Parker going behind the back. Bowen. And he brings it back out. Manu Ginobili starting the second half instead of Hedo Turkoglu. There was the thought that he might start the game, but Popovich stayed with Turkoglu, and Ginobili has given the Spurs a 2-point lead.
Well, Ginobili gets the basket, but you saw the transition defense by the Lakers. 0 fast break points for the Spurs in this game. Lakers have really done a nice job of getting back.
Payton. 8 points for Gary Payton. The game is tied at 41.
Steve, it's almost like so many guys nowadays are taught to drive the seam, drive the seam, drive the seam. The open jump shooter just doesn't exist anymore. The players are so anxious to put it down on the floor. That time, Gary Payton basically had a foul shot.
That's the one he's got to make. He's going to be open this second half.
Bryant met by Bowen. Now Malone over to set the pick. Again, Payton is loose. Yes. Payton from downtown. Lakers by 3.
Well, there's a reason that Gary Payton is open. One is that the Spurs are double teaming Shaquille O'Neal. The other, when Kobe comes off that screen and roll, they're clogging the lane and leaving Payton on the weak side.
Duncan was fouled. Evan George came over to help, and he's called for that foul.
There may be one other reason, Steve, why he's open. The fact that he's shooting 31% coming into tonight's game, okay? In the 5 previous games, just 31% for Payton. So San Antonio's going to make him show them that he can make that shot.
I remember during the first 2 games of the season, the series, when everybody was saying, well, Payton doesn't fit. Well, this is why. Normally in the triangle offense, when you've got a couple of stars, you want a jump shooter in that spot, not a guy like Payton who's more of a ball handler and driver.
Here is Parker, and we began to see in game 4 with Gary Payton and Kobe Bryant able to freelance. Phil Jackson went away from the triangle to accommodate both players, particularly Payton, who was getting burned early on by Parker and wanted to go back at him, wanted to go on the attack. Ginobili was fouled. He was hammered.
That's Shaq, I believe.
Yes, Devin George raising his hand, but it is Shaquille O'Neal picking up his 3rd.
Yeah, and the reason is because Devin George wound up throwing the bad pass. That's why Shaq picked up the foul. If he clears the pass, uses a good ball fake, and isn't careless, the ball would have gone into Shaq. Instead, it puts another foul on Shaq.
Ginobili with the step. And then picked up by Malone. Switching off. Here's Ginobili going at Malone. Bowen for 3. Rebounded by Malone.
The Spurs cannot win this game unless they can make some outside shots. You saw Parker miss one the previous possession. Bowen there. Somebody's got to step in and make a shot.
And that is usually his spot in the corner. Foul is called on Nesterovic. That's number 3 on Nesterovic.
I'm thinking back to that pass that George tried to make. Shaq worked so hard not to pick up that 3rd foul at the end of the first half and try to stay away from it. And then he gets one on an entry pass that doesn't actually get to him.
Those are the ones that just kill you as a coach, huh?
Nesterovic taking a seat. Kevin Willis played briefly in the first half, has come on. Nesterovic came up hobbling back in the first quarter, was replaced by Willis. Bryant, very difficult angle shot with the 2 remaining on the 24. Ginobili changed his mind. He saw Malone and O'Neal in front of him, and he tossed it back out. Willis with a long jump hook.
This has become just a defensive struggle between these 2 teams. Nobody can score.
4 minutes gone by in the 3rd. Crowd wants Kobe to go at Bowen. Instead, he tried to get it down low to O'Neal. And it is a kick ball. So Spurs maintain possession.
You can see players trying to figure out the puzzle. That's what's happening. All these moves, all the counters. That lob pass at time intended for Shaquille O'Neal was because Kevin Willis had crossed the lane to take away the isolation of Kobe. Couldn't quite figure out Kobe if he could get it through or not. He tried, but it didn't work.
Parker lost it. And a a timeout was called. It'll be Laker ball. Bryant off the steal, calling for time. And the Spurs are arguing that he did not have possession. And there may have been a technical foul called by Mike Callahan. Yes, it's on Gary Payton. Payton got involved with a couple of Spurs. Ed Rush, the official, is trying to get the Spurs back toward their bench, looking to separate the Lakers and the Spurs. And a technical foul called on Gary Payton. So 7:41 remaining in the third quarter. Lakers by 3. Assessed on Gary Payton.
It was a scrum on the floor, and as Kevin Willis was getting up, he shoves off of Kobe Bryant, bangs on his knee right there. Bryant takes his arm and shoves it away. Now here's Gary Payton coming to defend his teammate. He gets behind Kevin Willis and shoves Kevin Willis with his right hand. That's where the technical foul is awarded.
And here's the interpretation by the officials.
Technical foul, Gary Payton. I hope so. Let's go. Time out. Time out. Time out. We got the tech. Time out.
That was San Antonio head coach Greg Popovich saying, "I hope so," in reply to the call of the technical on Payton. Manu Ginobili will shoot the tee. And this free throw can break the 3-minute and 15-second scoreless streak on the part of the Spurs. So they have gone through a very quiet period here in this third quarter. Lakers now lead 44-42.
Show you how bad San Antonio is at the free throw line. They had a 70% free throw shooter shoot the technical foul because he's the best for them so far in this series at the foul line.
With that said, they're 6 for 7 tonight.
This is a team that is last in the NBA during the regular season at 68%. Lakers right with them. 28th next to last. Shot clock to 7. Payton. This time comes up short. Kevin Willis up front now with Tim Duncan, Bruce Bowen, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili. At the guards, Robert Horry about to check back in. Ginobili, yes. What a shot by Manu Ginobili, able to pull up and hit on a leaner to tie the game at 44. Bryant spinning his way on Bowen, is able to stay with him. O'Neal with the putback.
The Spurs bench is absolutely furious. They're trying for the push-off on O'Neal. Referees are going to be reluctant to give stars fourth fouls in these situations. They want the players to be able to decide games. They won't give Duncan a foul like that either.
This is Ginobili just going to break down Malone off the dribble, so you see Payton come over right away to give help.
Willis and Malone come together. Last touch by Malone. All right, let's check in with Craig.
Well, Marv, we mentioned that Kevin Willis is the oldest player in the league at 41, but he's also one of the strongest. He goes at 248 pounds. According to the Spurs, he has all the records in the weight room. He was 235 20 years ago when he broke in as a rookie with Mike Fratello. Those extra pounds, all muscle.
That's a guy who has been able to keep himself in remarkable shape. Foul is called on Kareem Rush. For the Lakers, it is their 13th foul.
Kevin Willis has an incredible work ethic. He has always been a player who understood that his body was going to enable him to stay in this league X number of years. He took care of it. Great competitor, a great teammate to have.
The amazing thing is he looks like he could play another 5 years.
Here's Ginobili. O'Neal. And back comes Bryant. So Bryant handling the ball. Gary Payton is in at the point and backing his way on Tony Parker. Nice job by Parker making Payton give it up.
Payton traveled, he got away with it.
And here's Bryant. Kobe recovering after he lost the dribble momentarily. Lakers lead by 4.
Steve, you tell me if I'm missing this, but to me, I see Kobe Bryant a little bit frustrated because he hasn't been able to get shots. That's only his 12th field goal attempt. The last 2 games, he's had 27 shots at the basket.
Duncan, rebounded by O'Neal. His pass broken up. Beautiful play by Ori. Parker for 3. Rebounded by O'Neal.
Sometimes basketball is just a very simple game. It's about putting the ball in the hole. Spurs just cannot make a shot.
And that was the problem the other night. Bryant diving for it. Duncan able to tear it away. Here comes Parker, and he's fouled by Payton. So the Lakers with their 4th team foul. That's the first on Payton.
You'll see the loose ball. Watch the guys get on the floor. And actually, after Tim Duncan comes up with the basketball in the end and winds up securing it and getting it out to his teammate, as he gets up off the floor, he actually helps pick up Kobe Bryant off the floor so they can get down the other end quicker.
Slava Medvedenko is back, replacing Karl Malone. Just under 5 minutes to play in this 3rd quarter. Hedo Turkoglu has come on now for the Spurs. Parker trying to get it down low. Back it comes to Bowen. Here's Bowen really having his problems at the offensive end. And a low-key performance thus far for Kobe Bryant. But Bryant able to drill it. And the Lakers now lead by 6.
It's almost like when Kobe feels he's got a little space right now, he's trying to take advantage. As Parker goes down, lays it up, misses the reverse.
Bowen not able to hit on the follow. Here comes Bryant. Kareem Rush kicks it out. Gary Payton. O'Neal able to hustle it down, but he stepped out of bounds. It'll be San Antonio ball.
The Spurs were ready to call a timeout, and the Lakers on that Parker drive were walking off the floor. That's why Parker did not stop to call the timeout. Unfortunately for the Spurs, he couldn't convert.
In the post-game celebration, as you look at Horace Grant, who's on the injured list, following the Laker win in San Antonio, in the locker room, which is on the small side, as Parker is off the mark, kept it on by Devin Brown, and he is rejected. Still 17 on the shot clock. Turkoglu. Here's Parker getting inside, and on O'Neal, knocks it away, but last touch by Parker.
It's got to be a terrible feeling to get yourself up in the air under the rim and have Shaquille O'Neal hanging over the top of you. You have nowhere to go.
And I think the Spurs have felt that way this entire game. They're shooting 34%, 2 for 11 from 3. They've got 10 turnovers. They just cannot find a way to score the basketball.
Coming up on 3 minutes remaining in this 3rd quarter, 6-point Laker lead. Here is Kareem Rush for 3. And Medvedenko not able to save it. Getting back to Horace Grant, who's on the injured list. In the celebration following that Laker win the other night in San Antonio, Horace cut his lip, caught an elbow from a teammate who was celebrating, and assistant coach Kurt Rambis said Horace is the first guy to get hurt while on the injured list. That will count. And the foul. So Brown will go to the line. Foul on Rush, his 2nd.
Little change of direction under the basket by Brown. He finds himself wide open. Rush lost him, tries to make up for it, and then compounds the situation by fouling him on the shot.
That was a different set from Greg Popovich. They've gone so much to the screen and roll and the penetration from Parker. Nobody's been able to hit a shot, so now he goes to the back cut to Brown and gets him open.
And Derek Fisher hearing it as he checks in for the first time in this 2nd half. Tim Duncan only 1 point in the last 19 minutes, and that was on that free throw. He was fouled away from the ball. It was on the field goal scored by Parker. O'Neal is fouled. That's 3 on Duncan. Tim Duncan 0 for his last 5 over the last 19 minutes.
Well, there's a reason. The Lakers are draped all over him. Every time he's getting the ball in the post, they're doubling quickly. Remember, in the first half, he was attacking his defender before the double could get there. I think the Lakers are much more conscious of that, and they're getting that extra man there before he even gets the ball.
Shaq is now 1 of 4 at the line.
Steve, why don't you, Steve, break down Shaq's feet on this free throw a little bit different. He's way away from the foul line.
Oh, a lot like Nick Van Exel, who shoots like an 18-footer from the foul line. I think a lot of guys will do that if they feel like they're long on a lot of shots. Now with Shaq, sometimes he's wide, sometimes he's long. Maybe he'll move over to the side next time.
Lakers 51, Spurs 47. Here's Turkoglu for 3. Medvedenko with that one-hand rebound. Bryant pops it down. Payton tried to save it, but he could not. So the ball back to the Spurs.
You know, the way the Spurs are struggling offensively, you just get the feeling like the Lakers are right there ready to extend this thing to a 10 or 12-point lead. You just haven't been able to do so.
Duncan met on a switch by Payton. Ginobili. There's a three-point attempt and a foul. It was on the Lakers with Duncan reaching for the rebound and was squeezed by a couple of Lakers. Foul on Payton. That's his second.
Tim Duncan here on the offensive rebound. You see Shaq going out to challenge Ginobili. That means that Duncan's the only big guy left underneath, and Gary Payton, there's no way he's going to be able to box out the 7-footer.
It has been a very quiet third quarter for Tim Duncan. He's shooting his free throws as I would say as well as we have seen him in some time.
Yeah, 7 for 10 in game 5, so he's starting to get a little more comfortable there.
Well, if you look at this right now, 2 of the 5 starters for San Antonio have yet to score a point. Talking about Hedo Turkoglu and Bowen. One of them's 0 for 4, the other 0 for 5 from the floor right now.
And then you've got Parker 4 for 14, so nobody can make a shot for San Antonio except for Devin Brown.
That's a lane violation on the Lakers. Looks to be Derek Fisher. Tony Parker getting a rest. Brown and Ginobili now at the guards with Duncan, Turkoglu, and Horry up front.
Now remember, game 5, Parker struggled through 3 quarters and then had a big 4th, so he's certainly capable of bouncing back.
And the lane violation costing the Lakers. Spurs now within 2, just under 2 minutes to play in the third. Marv Albert, Lazar, Mike Fratello, Steve Kerr, and Craig Sager from Staples in Los Angeles. A holding foul is called as Bryant started his drive. A foul on Brown. Last season, on the way to an NBA championship, San Antonio won all 4 games 6 that they played. 3 were on the road. They beat the Lakers here in LA a year ago to take the series. Kobe Bryant showing some signs in this third quarter. Hits another jumper. He now has 14. Lakers up by 4. Brown passed on the 3. Rejected by O'Neal.
That was a terrific block shot that time by Shaquille O'Neal. Perfect timing.
Here is Kareem Rush. Yes. Rush for 3. The Lakers lead by 7. Coming up on 1 minute to go in the third. Blocking foul on Medvedenko. For Kareem Rush, that was his first field goal.
Well, Kobe Bryant had just come off of a screen and roll and knocked down that perimeter shot, so that time Spurs collapse on him, and Kobe finds Rush for the 3. Greg Popovich obviously not happy with Mike Callahan right now.
Manu Ginobili. 8 points for Ginobili. Here's Malone back, and O'Neal will get a rest. 12 points, 16 rebounds for Shaquille O'Neal. Get an all-access look at the NBA playoffs. Tune in to the NBA TV playoff show, Destination Finals. That's every weeknight at 6 p.m. only on NBA TV. Bryant has hit his last 3 shots. Kobe rebounded by Turkoglu. That was a force by Bryant. Not a good shot.
A little ambitious. He had a couple guys open because he had 4 Spurs collapsing on him.
Horry fires one up. He knew he was being fouled, so he got the call. Lakers are over the limit.
Robert Horry sets him up with the look at the basket, and then Medvedenko closing out, gets too close. Horry basically just puts it on the floor and tries to initiate the contact. But I want to go back to the other end of the floor, as you said, Marv, the forced shot by Kobe Bryant. He really never needs to take that kind of a shot. He's too good, he's too talented. He can always wind up with a high percentage shot or create a better shot for a teammate.
How about San Antonio, Steve? 12 to 13 at the line here tonight.
It's about the only thing keeping them in the game. That and their rebounding. 32-28 edge, but 32% from the floor. So the free throws are keeping them in it. And how about this close to the quarter by the Spurs? And a chance here to go into the fourth. Just down 1 or 2 points if they can convert.
Malik Rose had just checked in for the first time with that rebound. It's a 2-second differential between the game clock and the shot clock. Tim Duncan sitting down, replaced by Rose here at the end of the quarter. Horry setting a high pick. Shot clock down to 2, down to 1. Ginobili gets it off. Rebounded by Rose. Won't count. Malik Rose upset with himself. He had the opportunity but could not convert. That's the end of the third. Fans tonight, including that man. Look at the look from Greg Popovich, and then Greg said, you know, I really enjoyed Something's Gotta Give. Jack's been on Popovich all night.
Jack has become much more vocal here the last couple of years. Last year in the series versus the Spurs, he berated an official and almost got a technical foul. That would have been a first, I think. Hollywood after getting a tee.
You know, looking at these numbers, Greg Popovich had said to us prior to the game, I thought we did a great job in Game 5 defensively. He said we just couldn't make a shot. Now you're looking at this. They've held the Lakers to 56 points for 3 quarters. So once again, he's got to be happy with his defense. It's the offense, and remember, it's 12 for 14 for the foul line tonight, which is incredible for the Spurs.
And for San Antonio, the season has come down to this 4th quarter. Here's Malone getting inside, and he is fouled. So Malone will shoot 2. Good pass to set it up. Foul on Malik Rose.
Pretty amazing, though, when you're shooting 30%, that you can be down just 4 going into the 4th. And I don't think the Lakers can feel very comfortable knowing that sooner or later, San Antonio is probably going to make a shot or 2.
Just 13% from the 3-point line, 2 of 15 for San Antonio.
Malone is now 3 for 5 at the line. So the Lakers 6 of 12 at the foul line.
How about the production of Malik Rose there? He comes in for the final minute of the 3rd quarter. It's 4 rebounds. And Pop puts him back on the bench.
Lakers 57, Spurs 52.
Maybe if he had gotten 5 rebounds, he'd still be out there.
Duncan, played by O'Neal with help from Fisher. Here is Brown for 3. Devin Brown from downtown. He has 12 points. Brown 4 for 7, 12 points in 18 minutes of play.
This guy is unbelievable, Mike. Coming out of nowhere, playing so well in huge games.
Bryant passing in traffic. And on the turnover, Ginobili sets up. Ginobili for three. And batted out of bounds. Last touch by O'Neal.
And Popovich said before the game, I'm playing Brown and Ginobili a lot of minutes tonight. I mean, he was ready to go with those two guys. He just had the good feeling about him. That's the way he was going heading into this game.
Well, Devin Brown was one of the best players to come out of San Antonio high school basketball. San Antonio's all-time high school scoring leader at one point. And played 4 years at the University of Texas at San Antonio. This Brown, played by Fisher. Brown was fouled. Will it count? Yes, it will. He got the ball on the continuation. The game is tied at 57, and Brown will go to the line.
Well, I'm shocked that who gave him the continuation. You see, he gets the step on Fisher, who was expecting the screen and roll on the other side. And Devin Brown pumped up, as he should be. A chance to give the Spurs the lead here, amazingly enough.
Three-point play for Devin Brown. San Antonio 58, Los Angeles 57. Brown with 15 points. We're early in the fourth. O'Neal going at Nesterovic and is fouled. The foul on Duncan, who came over to help. That is number 4.
Well, Shaq makes the real strong move to his right shoulder as he turns in, and then from behind him, here comes Tim Duncan. They call that hit on the wrist. Duncan doesn't believe that the foul was called against him. You can see the surprised look on his face. Number 4 on Tim Duncan.
Spurs staff now has a decision to make. You can see they are congregating, trying to decide, do we take Duncan out now? And if they do, for how long?
Shaquille O'Neal now 2 of 6 at the line. We touched on it earlier. 5 previous games this season, and he hasn't helped the percentile here tonight. 29% from the line.
And I really think now, if you're Nesterovic down on the block this fourth quarter, you got to think about just fouling him when he gets it down there. If he's in a scoring position, make him prove that he can make a free throw.
Duncan trying to go glass, rebounded by Bryant.
It's almost as if neither one of these teams think they're going to get a fast break basket. They get the rebound, they take one hard dribble out, and then they slow up.
Bryant is fouled. Hesitation move by Kobe to draw the foul, so he'll shoot 2. He's going to the line for the first time. Foul on Nesterovic. That is his 4th.
Mark, you said that as if you were a little bit surprised. Last game, game 5, he only played 47 minutes and went to the line 0 times. So Kobe Bryant has been turned into primarily a jump shooter, combination of some fatigue, some San Antonio's defense by giving so much help to stop his penetration.
Reminder tomorrow on ABC, it's the Timberwolves and the Kings. That'll be game 6 of that series. Coverage starting 3:30 Eastern time. Tomorrow night on TNT, it's the Pistons and the Nets in game 6, coming off the triple overtime. Coverage starting 7:30 Eastern time. And then Tuesday night on ESPN, the Pacers and the Heat. Brown off a tough angle. Nesterovic rejected. Spurs want a goaltend. They will not get it. PJ Carlesimo controlling Greg Popovich on the sideline, keeping him away from the official, Mike Callahan. And I think Mike Callahan very compassionate in not handing out a technical.
How about the defense of Shaquille O'Neal tonight? He has been absolutely terrific covering the basket. A big reason the Spurs are shooting just under 31%.
4 block shots for O'Neal. And now a foul is called on the Lakers. Foul on Malone. That's his 3rd.
You have to determine, is this on the way down? Does he get it on the way up? To me, looks like it's still going on the way up, but this is one guy who wouldn't agree with me. Greg Popovich, the coach of San Antonio, very upset with the non-call.
Lakers with their 2nd team foul. Spurs have 3. Lakers lead by 1. Brown. Back comes Payton. between Nesterovich and O'Neal. Shot clock to 6. Fisher on a quick release. Yes! Derek Fisher with a catch and shoot. Lakers lead 62-58. Here is Duncan. He's fouled by Malone. So that
points are so difficult to come by that a shot here or there will decide this game.
Well, this is a game that was preceded by a final score of 74-73 off the game winner by Derek Fisher, preceded by a wild shot by Tim Duncan. How about Duncan? First 14 minutes tonight, he hits 5 of 7 for 11 points. Last 25 minutes, 0 for 6 from the field. Duncan is 4 for 4 at the line. His last field goal, 2 minutes into the second quarter. And also has only 1 rebound in the second half.
Well, Lakers have collapsed on him. Shaquille O'Neal has protected the rim. They've made things very difficult for Duncan. And the worst thing for him is teammates are not making perimeter shots to open things up for him.
But despite those numbers, as Duncan misses on both, San Antonio is down by only 4 with much time remaining. Bryant played by Brown. Bryant on the pick and roll. Malone is fouled. That's number 5 on Nesterovich.
Nice job that time of emptying out the left side. Lakers went into a little pick and roll, a little diversion from the triangle offense, and just went basically right into a side pick and roll. And then Malone just takes it right into Nesterovich, knowing he's going to get fouled. Body contact first, hoping to make the three-point play.
Well, really, there's been a diversion from the triangle offense most of this series. Their entire offense for the Lakers has gone through Kobe Bryant on a screen and roll situation with Shaq.
It's called a metamorphosis. That's what's happened.
Wait, who gave the commencement address? Oh, it was Steve.
Is that Kafka?
Yeah.
It's the Czar quoting
Wow.
Kafka?
Karl Malone is 3 of 7. I think Phil was thinking about the free throw shooting of his club. 8 for 18 at the line.
It's the Spurs who were supposed to struggle, although the Lakers are not much better than San Antonio this year.
Lakers 63, Spurs 58. Lakers have led by as many as 8. At one point, Spurs led by 6. Duncan getting the step. Nice move by Tim Duncan. His first field goal since the early moments in the second quarter.
And the moments when he's been successful against Shaq are when he's made moves like that. Quick moves, face up, and go right around and no messing around.
Fisher passed on the 3. Rebounded by Brown. Shot clock down to 7. They surround Duncan. Here comes Fisher. The 4 on 3. Payton. Oh, reverse by Payton. Lakers 65. Spurs 60. 7.5 remaining. 60. Lakers hoping to close it out here tonight. Spurs want to take it back to San Antonio for a game 7. You saw Ori pushed to the floor, and a foul is called on Bryant. That's his second. Lakers 4th team foul, same for the Spurs. Rick Popovich staying with Devin Brown, who once again has provided a spark off the bench. Brown inbounds to Ori. Brown and Parker at the guards. Ori, Duncan, and Ginobili up front. Shot clock at 3. Duncan. Ori kept it alive. Robert Ori on the putback to bring the Spurs within 3.
And I think Devin Brown got a hand on that to keep the ball alive so that Ori could come up with the putback. Another huge play by Devin Brown.
Payton finding Bryant. Nice play. Bryant on the move, cutting to the rim.
And let's look at one factor here. Because Bruce Bowen is 0 for 5, and because offense is so precious to San Antonio, Bowen's on the bench right now. Bowen probably the best at guarding Kobe.
Oh, Ginobili with a beautiful move. You saw Shaq coming over looking for another block.
He's already got 4 of them tonight. Looked like he was going to get that one, but Ginobili spreading out with that left hand.
Lakers up 67-64. Payton went right at Duncan. Tim Duncan is playing with 4 fouls. And Gary Payton looking to pick up number 5 on Duncan. Just under 6 minutes to play in the 4th. Brown to the crossover and a foul. It is an offensive foul. Fisher took the hit. A charging foul on Brown.
I don't know if there's a player in the league who takes more charges than Derek Fisher. You see him slide across the lane, beat Devin Brown to the spot. Good call by the officials. Derek Fisher, guy is flat out a winner. Make big shots, but will also throw his body in there, make strong defensive plays.
Payton and Fisher at the guards with Bryant, O'Neal, and Malone up front. Here is Bryant. Yes. Lakers by 7. 20 points for Kobe Bryant. Duncan. Nice move. Tim Duncan going right at Shaquille O'Neal. 71-66, Los Angeles. Light pressure by the Spurs. Parker all over Fisher. And the outside official, Ed Rush, calling the foul on Devin Brown. A holding foul, and the Spurs are in the penalty.
Marv, one thing that Phil Jackson is concerned about, I know Greg Popovich is very aware of it, as the minutes mount up for the Lakers, you got O'Neal with 39, Bryant with 39, Malone with 34 right now. Is the fatigue down the stretch a factor?
You know what? Game 6, they're playing the Spurs. It's the rivalry series. Everything's on the line. I think the adrenaline will carry these guys right through.
We saw Kobe Bryant wisely usher Gary Payton aside as Payton was upset and started to say something to one of the officials, and Kobe kept him away. Bryant 3 for 3 at the line. This has developed into another solid performance by Kobe. 21 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists.
Let's remember, once again, Kobe, 2 big baskets, 2 free throws now with Bowen sitting on the bench, someone different guarding him down the stretch here.
Just under 5 minutes remaining on the 4th. 7-point Laker lead. Duncan. See Bryant coming over to help, along with Payton. Shot clock at 5. Parker for 3. Ginobili able to get to it. Another possession for San Antonio. Open shot for Parker, way off. Handled though by Duncan, and a foul. The Lakers are making Duncan give it up. And we're seeing open shots. Shaquille O'Neal picking up the foul, his 4th, and that'll send Tim Duncan to the line.
You see Tim Duncan come up with the second shot opportunity. The foul take place, but to me, this is probably as good an example as you're going to see of what the effects have been on the defensive guideline changes over the last couple of years. It's so hard to split right now and get an open seam because 2 defenders can camp out on the one guy that they're trying to take out of the game and force you to have to make shots from the outside. It's a premium now to have shooters. You could come back, Steve.
I'm going to start working out tomorrow, I think.
Duncan 5 for 7 at the line. Lakers with a 73-68 lead. And apparently Robert Horry has some blood on his left elbow, so a timeout was called by the Spurs.
And this is a rule change that if you can get someone out there to take him up right away, he's allowed to stay in the game. As in the past, you had to take him out of the game, replace him with someone, and then you could lose a guy for a minute, minute and a half, 2 minutes before you get him back in again if there's no stoppage.
Or get called for a timeout if you take too long.
So that was an official timeout allowing the repairs to be made.
Quick work by Spurs trainer Will Sevening, helping them avoid that timeout.
Here's Bryant. Nice back tap by Malone. And they have the new clock. Off the handoff, Fisher was fouled, and Parker is hurt. Parker took a shot, and he's shaken up. Foul on Tony Parker. Both teams are over the foul limit.
Looks like he's bleeding. I think his chin was split.
It looks like the left hand there of Fisher at the end, right there, that catches Tony Parker in the teeth and the lip.
So you can see a little blood coming out there. This is big. They've got to be able to patch that up. If it requires a stitch or two, he could be out for the rest of this game.
Now there's pressure on Spurs trainer Will Sevening. We're seeing a lot of Will here.
We are. A lot of FaceTime.
Well, Tony's all right. Fisher, an 80% free throw shooter during the season. Gets 1 of 2. Lakers lead 74-68. 4 minutes remaining in this fourth quarter. Can the Spurs come from behind as they look to send it to a Game 7 back in San Antonio? Ginobili is blocked. What a play by Shaquille O'Neal. Meanwhile, Robert Horry went flying. Lakers trying to close it out here at home. Foul on Horry. Remember, the Spurs looking brilliant. First 2 games, won the first 2 at the SBC Center in San Antonio. Lakers have come roaring back to win 3 straight. They have a 6-point lead here with 3.5 to play. Shaquille O'Neal, 2 of 7 at the line. The Lakers are now 13 of 24. An ovation for Shaq as he hits the first.
Bob, I'm going to treat you like a little something special for you tonight. The other idle thought I was going to give you. How about this when the Lakers are leading a series 3-2? 18-1, closing it out.
That's too much, Steve. We got a secondary idle thought.
Unsponsored.
Here is Horry for 3. Rebounded by O'Neal. Look out. A foul is called. Ginobili would not let go. Shaq would not let go of the basketball, and a foul was called.
Well, this guy, Shaquille O'Neal, is responsible for what's going on out here tonight. His defense, his block shots, controlling rebounds, and literally fighting off 2 defenders, people hanging all over him. Spurs will send him to the line again to try to knock down a pair, but look at Shaq's numbers: 14 points, 19 boards, 4 blocks, 5 blocks. So he has just been absolutely phenomenal.
Foul was called on Ginobili. Shaq coming off a very low-key game the other night, just 11 points and 11 rebounds after playing so well in the previous 3. But at the line, a different story. He's now 4 for 10.
Well, that's good. that's an improvement. He came in, what, at about 29% on the series.
Well, Shaq figured if somebody's going to miss 54 shots tonight from the other team, let me get myself 19, 20 rebounds here.
76-68, Lakers, 3:20 remaining in the fourth. Evan Brown using the pick, has to give it up. Here's Ginobili. Oh, around O'Neal. What a move by Manu Ginobili, who has 13 points. It is a 6-point game, and
An intentional foul away from the ball results in one shot and the ball on the side. So they may try this just for another minute or so.
well, Shaquille O'Neal now 5 of 12 at the line. Let's go to Craig Sager. Craig?
Well, Marv, you guys mentioned the fact that Shaquille O'Neal is shooting his free throws from about 17 feet away. You think as bad as he is, he gets as close as he can possibly get. But he decided in practice a couple weeks ago they were sitting the back of the rim all the time, so he decided to move back. The coaching staff says, well, whatever makes him more comfortable, fine, but looks to us like he's still hitting the back of the rim.
Yes, that last shot coming up short off to the right. So he's 5 for 13. Here's the lob. That did not work. Back comes Bryant. Lakers in possession. They lead by 7. And away from the ball, way down court, Robert Horry just held Shaquille O'Neal in full view of the official NF Rush, so the foul is called.
And Steve, this is a very critical point you make. You'll see Horry running out. He told the official, watch me, I'm going to foul Shaq, because they only have 48 more seconds to take advantage of this. After the 48 seconds go by, remember, San Antonio is trying to get extra possessions to catch up. After the 48 seconds, then it goes to one shot and Laker ball back out of bounds. And they have to use it when they can to their advantage.
And give Shaq credit. He's made a few of them here, just enough to keep this Laker lead. And if you're San Antonio, you've got to get a better possession at the other end. You've got to get a shot at the basket. You can't afford a lob like that.
Oh, you know, Shaq's feeling very good about it with the Spurs going to hack-a-Shaq the last 30 seconds. Lakers now lead by 9. Here is Horry for 3. Rebounded by Ginobili. Ball knocked away. And last touch by the Lakers.
Ginobili can't believe that he didn't get the foul call. He went back up with that offensive rebound, and somebody grabbed his arm.
2:34 remaining in the 4th. Lakers trying to hang on for the closeout win to win it in 6. San Antonio vying for a come-from-behind effort to bring it back to a 7th game in San Antonio on Wednesday. Foul is called a blocking foul on Payton.
This is just what San Antonio wants. Put some points on the board while the clock is stopped. Give yourself a chance. He makes both of these free throws. We're talking about a 7-point ball game with a lot of time left.
Tony Parker, a 70% free throw shooter. This is his first appearance at the line.
Well, the question is now, do the Spurs go back to the hack-a-Shaq, or has he convinced them that he's going to make them?
I think they take one more chance at fouling.
Lakers 79, Spurs 71. Let's see how the Spurs play it. Shaq started out 2 of 7 from the line. He's hit 5 of his last 8. O'Neal is all the way down court, so they're not going to do it here. And the Lakers taking their time on this possession. Now Payton able to swing away. Payton rebounded by Ginobili. Parker off the crossover. Here's Horry from downtown. Well, Brown tried to save it, but he deflected it off his teammate, Parker.
This is a guy who's a big shot maker, Robert Horry. Right now, he just can't find a way to make the big one that the Spurs need.
And nothing going right for San Antonio. Devin Brown trying to make the save, goes right off of Tony Parker's leg.
And off the pressure, a timeout is called.
Struggled at times as well. You see last year in the conference semis, 0 for 18 as a Laker versus the Spurs, 2 for 12 this series. But if you're going to make some big shots, you've got to be able to miss them too. You got to be able to be willing to be the GOAT, because if you don't let it fly, you're not going to give yourself a chance.
Now, what would you know about that kind of stuff, Steve? All right, here comes Bryant. Bryant all the way. Kobe Bryant extends to a 10-point Laker lead. They are on their feet here at Staples. Parker rebounded by Horry and a foul.
Right now, Kobe Bryant has a full head of steam, attacking the basket. Tim Duncan, the last line of defense, is back. At that point, I would think Tim, even though he's got 4 fouls, would go up and challenge us, because 8 points, if he blocks it and they go down and get a score, becomes 6. Just a sensational finish by Kobe Bryant.
That foul on O'Neal, so 5 on Shaq. And Robert Horry, who was loved here in Los Angeles for several years, getting the treatment at the foul line.
Well, the fans always love the jersey more than the player.
Shaquille O'Neal, hearing it from this crowd as he sits down with 17 points, 19 rebounds.
And who could have foreseen this when this series was 2-0 in the Spurs' favor? Lakers have turned up the defense and shut down San Antonio.
81-73 Lakers. San Antonio is over the foul limit. Kobe using the clock. And hearing the chant from this crowd, they're chanting Kobe. Shot clock at 3. He thought he was fouled. It was deflected out of bounds. Last touched by the Spurs with 1 on the 24.
Well, you understand you're trying to run the clock down as far as possible, but Kobe's got to get himself in a situation where he can face up and perhaps create some shots for other people as well at the end. That time he wound up in a bad position, forcing a bad shot.
Now the Lakers will put Shaq in and just camp him in the lane. Look for Payton to just throw this lob up.
Only 1 on the shot clock. Here's George on the catch and shoot. And the ball back to the Spurs. A minute 15 remaining in the 4th quarter. Kobe Bryant with 10 of his 24 here in the 4th.
Turkoglu back in the game, 3-point shooter for San Antonio.
Duncan for 3. Rebounded by George. Stolen by Parker, but a foul
From the floor.
How about San Antonio? 3 of 22 from downtown.
Well, I think you have to give credit to the Lakers defense. Remember, after 2 games, they were being ridiculed for allowing Parker into the lane, for allowing Duncan to do whatever he wanted. And they have completely turned things around with their defense. They got aggressive. They got tough with Parker. And they clogged that lane, made life miserable. Playoff Speedy Claxton as well. So this is really a new team.
Fellow by the name of Steve Kerr.
For 1 game.
And Ginobili just fires it up, draws the foul. With a minute 1 remaining in this 4th quarter. Foul on Payton. As for the Lakers, they will, unless there is a miraculous finish here, they will be awaiting the winner between Sacramento and Minnesota. Game 6 of that series tomorrow in Sacramento, and both Minnesota and Sacramento won the season series. For what that's worth, it all changes in the playoffs.
It's nothing.
But one thing that Phil Jackson and his team have done is they've solved the mystique of the San Antonio defense. During the regular season, Spurs #1 in the league. They held their opponents to 40% shooting from the floor. Coming into tonight's game, the Lakers shooting 48% in the first 5 games, which is outstanding against this San Antonio defense. The big losses for San Antonio: Kerr's perimeter game, the toughness of Steve Jackson, Speedy Claxton, the backup point guard, big, and then David Robinson.
And once again, a lane violation called on the Lakers.
I think what they're pointing out is it's a 3-shot foul, because
apparently, yes.
Ginobili made the second one. The Lakers were ready to take the ball out.
So the call was Ginobili had attempted a 3, so he had 3 free throws. Lakers lead 83-76, and a foul is called on Devin Brown. That's number 5 on Brown. So the Lakers will become only the 8th team in the history of the NBA to come back from an 0-2 deficit in a best-of-7 and pull out the series. As we mentioned earlier, the last team to do it, the Houston Rockets against the Phoenix Suns in the 1995 conference semifinals. And the Rockets went on to win the title.
Well, there's the old cliche that you can't turn it on anytime you want, but it sure seems like this Laker team can. They're not very impressive during the regular season, and suddenly they've been able to get things going here out of nowhere against the Spurs.
Here's Ginobili for Parker. Rebounded by George, and he's fouled by Turkoglu.
You know, Parker makes that shot, Marv. It's a 5-point game, but it's just the story of the night. Like you mentioned it a moment ago, Spurs still at 30% shooting. They just have not been able to make any shot, much less key shots.
There's a difference between trying to make shots when you're contested on everyone and the hand is on the ball defensively versus the wide open shots. You've got to take advantage of the wide open looks at the basket.
22% in the second half, and San Antonio has fought gallantly on defense to keep themselves in this game, but ultimately they just could not hit from the perimeter, and that cost them.
Kevin George, 3 of 3 at the line, a 77% free throw shooter. You mentioned the ups and downs of the Lakers. They began the season at 18-3. They fell off, and then they finished strong. They won 14 of their last 17. They had an 11-game win streak during that stretch. Through the tumultuous season involving Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal, Phil Jackson, certainly his contract status up in the air. But here they are bouncing back, tripping foul on Brown, and Kobe will head to the line, bouncing back after losing the first 2 in San Antonio. And this will Hyundai, Ernie, Kenny, and Charles from our Atlanta studios. We'll have post-game reaction from the Lakers and the Spurs, and a look ahead to tomorrow's Game 6 between the Pistons and the Nets. Evan George able to hustle down that rebound. San Antonio shooting only 22% from the field in the second half. Standing ovation for the Lakers. And Derek Fisher was fouled. Greg Popovich was screaming at Tony Parker to commit the foul to stop the clock. Spurs were just letting the Lakers run it down. So Fisher to the line with 18 seconds to play. And you know that Phil Jackson and the Lakers love the fact that they'll have some time off.
It'll help, especially with Kobe, who's got to be fatigued after the series he's had with all the traveling back and forth. And of course, Shaq has a few nagging injuries.
San Antonio's taking a timeout.
2 starters for the Spurs didn't score at all tonight.
All right, Horry's pass intercepted by George. Payton handles, down to 10 seconds. And that will wrap it. The Los Angeles Lakers defeating the San Antonio Spurs 88-76. They have won the series in 6. They advance to the Western Conference Final to face the winner between Sacramento and Minnesota.
Well, Shaq, a week ago we stood here. You guys were down 2-0. Everybody's talking about the underachieving demise of this franchise. Now in the last 7 days, you won 4 straight. What turned things around in the locker room and here on the court?
Well, we came out and played with passion. The first 2 games, they had home court advantage, so they just took care of their business. And we knew that we had to come here and take care of our business when we came back home, and we did that. And we knew that we can get Game 5. And Fisher hit a great shot, and we came out tonight to play hard. We still made too many turnovers, but we fought hard, hit some shots, hit some free throws down the stretch, and now we're moving on.
17 points, 19 rebounds, but the big defensive philosophy of the Lakers, don't let Parker get anything in the lane. Keep Duncan out of there as well. You had 5 blocks. You controlled the paint the last 4 games of the series. What defensive changes did you make?
Well, I just told Gary to stay in front of him and bring him to me. we wanted to, force them to, kick it out to their big men, force their big men to shoot. So, Gary did a good job, and we won.
There's a lot of playoff games left this year, but the fact that you have defeated the NBA champions, you guys have combined the last 5 titles. You feel like this is more than just a normal second-round series?
We're on a mission. We had a big task in front of us. We achieved that task. We don't know who we're going to play the next round, but I'm sure it's going to be a very tough opponent, and we just have to do the same thing. We just have to follow that mission.
You know what your regular season record was against Sacramento and Minnesota? Or does it matter?
Don't know and don't care.
All right, it was 1-3, but you don't care.
Playoffs is a different situation. It's a different season.
All right, thanks a lot. Great game.